It's once again upset alert time. Time to take a look at the teams that could surprise some people. We'll also take a look at some bets and just general pick 'em as well, looking at many games for week one of college football. First, we'll dive into the upset alert, a good weekend for us last weekend, and we'll get things going once again. We'll start with Fresno State and Purdue. I think that Purdue going through a transition, losing the coaching staff and bringing in a new one will create some unorganized feelings and unorganized abilities. And Fresno State is a team that, even though they lose their quarterback, I think they are a team that is still solid and can pull off the upset, even though they're on the road. This is a team that's been really fun to watch. They beat UCLA last year, and you're looking at a team in Purdue that is not as good as that UCLA team. So keep an eye out for that one. Another team to keep an eye out for is USF. Now, this is a little bit more of a stretch against Western Kentucky because Western Kentucky's offense is absolutely electric, and USF is still trying to figure things out. But I think the fact that USF has talent on their roster and they're just such a forgotten team right now makes them the perfect upset candidate. If not, that they could potentially just cover in this game, but an upset is definitely a possibility. Wyoming is a team to keep an eye on, a team that could compete for a Mountain West championship. I think even in the Mountain West, a lot of people are underrating them. They're overlooking this team. And Texas Tech should have a good year. A lot of people are excited about what they can do, but that's also a team I think everybody just expects to be really good. So that maybe sets them up for a little bit of disappointment in week one. Wyoming's front six is absolutely disruptive. That's something to keep an eye on for this game. That's a team that can definitely disrupt what Texas Tech is trying to do. Another upset that I think will happen is South Alabama against Tulane. Now, Tulane has a target on their back as the top group of five team. South Alabama nearly competed for a Sun Belt championship, had a big year last year and returns a lot of key pieces on both sides of the ball. So that's one game to definitely keep an eye on, the best group of five game in college football in week one, and it'll be one that hopefully has a lot of points scored as well. A team that was on this list last week and is back is San Jose State. They did not pull off the upset against USC, but they did cover. And now they get a chance to face an Oregon State team that is not as good as USC. And if San Jose State can continue to be a tough team to beat, continue playing as well as they did at times last week, then I think Oregon State is potentially in trouble. San Jose State is a good team in the Mountain West, and that's what puts them in this position. I think that they have a good chance to pull off the upset. And once again, if not, they can also cover like they did last week. Moving on to some bets, there are a few bets that we really like here, and we'll start with, we mentioned before, USF against Western Kentucky. Now, this is a game that could feature two high-powered offenses, two very explosive offenses. Alex Golish has a lot of work to do at USF, and there's plenty of talent. If you look at the depth chart, there's plenty of oars at every single position. So that's something to keep an eye on. That's something that could impact this game. But Western Kentucky knows how to put points on the board too. They know how to throw the ball around the field. So it comes down to what the Bulls defense do to slow down that passing attack. So that'll be really fun. That will be interesting to see how does this team respond to adversity. How does Western Kentucky continue doing what it's doing? So the fact that the Bulls are a two score underdog gives me a good value here. And then we go to Houston and UTSA. While I do like what UTSA is doing, and I think a lot of it hinges on what Decorian Clark's health is. And if he's not playing, that limits kind of the big time playmakers that you can have. Yes, Joshua Cephas is back. You have Oscar Cardenas. You have a few playmakers still returning, but that's going to hurt in addition to already losing Zachary Franklin in the transfer portal. Houston's a team that a lot of people expect to struggle this year. So this could be a game which they surprise people. And the fact that they're +1 at the time of recording, and I have a feeling it's going to go even further as them as an underdog, makes them a really fun pick, a really interesting pick for me. So I have them at +1. Fresno State and Purdue, we already talked about them. And at the time of recording, 4.5 point underdog. So give me that. I think that's really good for a team that in Fresno State that should be really explosive. And Jeff Tedford has done a great job of building this program from what it was with Kalen DeBoer, which was still really good. He's continuing that tradition, And Purdue, I think, is a team that will need some time to get things sorted out. Another group of five team that is going through a transition is Coastal Carolina. I think that they are going to take a step back this year. And the fact that they're only 14 and a half point underdogs to UCLA, a UCLA team that I think is going to be phenomenal in 2023. That's a game that I really like. So UCLA 14 and a half over Coastal Carolina. A little bit more obscure one for this second to last bet here. Washington team total in the first half over 19 and a half. I like Boise State. I like what they can do, but I think Washington's offense is just too explosive. I think that they're going to have plenty of scores, and I think that they're going to struggle. Boise State will struggle to slow down this offense at least early on. Now, if Boise State can hang around, then you're looking at a team that maybe keeps this going into the fourth quarter. But Washington just has so much firepower that I don't think that Boise State can hang on. And so, at least in the first half, I think that Washington could pull away with it. And then after that, it's what does Boise State do to respond? The final bet today, TCU 20 and a half over Colorado. I think that the Colorado hype has gotten a little bit out of control. I think the Colorado hype can be a long-term hype and could be a really fun team to watch in 2024. But I think that there's a lot that they need to figure out. There's a lot that they need to do to get better. And TCU right now is the better team. TCU is definitely the team that is a top 25 team, and Colorado is a team trying to figure things out. And I think right now that is a mismatch, and TCU is going to pull away with this one. Going to pick them. Last week was an okay week, 6-4 with the finish, and we will go with some other really fun games. Now we have a bigger slate, more games to pick from. And as always, let me know who you think is going to win these games in the comments below. Let me know your upsets. Let me know your bets. Leave a comment. Let me know what you're thinking. And here we go. Week 1, pick 'em. First, I have Louisville over Georgia Tech. I think that the Cardinals are in for a fun ride with Jeff Brom. The schedule appears to be very favorable. So it's just a matter of what do they do to capitalize on that? You get a easy schedule. That means that you're capable of winning games, and Jeff Brom will be able to produce an offense that'll be really fun to watch. Next one I have is Miami over Miami of Ohio. I think that Miami, Ohio has a lot of confidence right now, but playing a team like the Hurricanes is just a different beast. And I don't have any concerns that the Hurricanes will take care of business. Next one, we already talked about this in the bets. TCU over Colorado. TCU is an explosive offense. TCU has plenty of weapons on both sides of the ball. And I think that Colorado needs a little bit of time before they can showcase that they're back to being a Power Five team that can compete with everybody. I think they'll be better than last year, but TCU is just that much better right now. SMU over Louisiana Tech to me is just an easy pick. After struggling with FIU last week, Louisiana Tech has to prove that they can compete with an even more explosive offense because not only can SMU run the ball, but they can throw the ball really effectively. Rhett Lashley has a great track record of developing his quarterbacks. He has a great track record of creating explosive offenses, and Preston Stone is just the latest and potentially greatest team or quarterback that will be able to make things happen. Ohio State over Indiana shouldn't be a surprise. I think that the Buckeyes are very much the better team, and that's not going to be a concern. There shouldn't be, this game should not be close. And it's just a matter of the margin of victory for Ohio State. If Indiana does keep it close, that would be interesting, but I think there's too much firepower for Ryan Day and this team. Washington over Boise State. As you saw in the bets, I think Washington gets off to a fast start. I think that they take it to Boise State, and then you're looking at an easy win they could coast to when it's all said and done. Houston over UTSA. Once again, another game where I feel Houston is getting overlooked. They're being just almost disrespected, especially being at home. Also, if you haven't seen their jerseys for this game, take a look at those. Those are pretty sweet. Houston over UTSA should be another fun one after what we saw last year. Penn State over West Virginia shouldn't be too much of a surprise. West Virginia has to do a lot to have Neil Brown keep his job. Playing Penn State early on isn't going to help that case. So Penn State, I think, has an offense that everybody has some questions about with Drew Aller. What can he do as a quarterback? We'll get a glimpse early on of what he can do against Power 5 competition. The one I have that's really close, South Carolina over North Carolina. I think North Carolina has a ton of weapons. I think they have a ton of exciting players, and that will test South Carolina. But I really like where South Carolina is going. I think maybe by a slight edge. It's really hard for me to pick, but I think South Carolina has the edge there. And then the final game, Sunday night, Florida State over LSU. This is the rematch of last year, which we're seeing a few games like that this year. And I think Florida State will win this game again. They will continue their success, and they have a, this is one of two games that's huge in September for them. So finding a way to win this game would be huge. Finding a way to start the year 1-0 gets them on the fast track to the college football playoff. And now you're looking at a good team that is going to have to prove they can beat Clemson, but at least you have a win over LSU that proves you can beat a team that's a top 10 team. So that's my picks for this week. Those are the bets for this week. Upset alerts. Once again, let me know what you think of the comments, and let's enjoy some more quality college football.